new phone means a new opportunity, once again, to start fresh. And that's what I did this time around with the S26 Ultra. And I even took it a step further this year with a brand new Gmail account and a new phone number. Now, yes, I know you can restore from backup, but I quite like starting fresh rather than just restoring over and over and over again, which just over time just bloats your phone. Apps you never actually use, settings that you don't realize you changed like 5 years ago, and weird problems that never seem to fix themselves until you do a full factory reset anyway. Now, please do subscribe, by the way. YouTube has been pretty brutal this year with changes to their algorithm. But let's just get on with the video and jump into the very first things that I've done when setting up my brand new S26 Ultra, including how to set up many of the new features which, weirdly, are disabled by default straight out of the box. Now, before moving on with the rest of the settings, our next video will be the best accessories for the S26 and S26 Ultra. And for the fourth year in a row now, my case of choice is a Magback case, who kindly agreed to sponsor this video with their S26 Elite case, which, yes, does all of the usual things you'd expect, but it also has built-in magnets, which are so strong you can stick your phone to any magnetic surface, and even their Magback wallets stick like absolute glue. Now, you can customize your case with different colored accents, but not only this, you get quality of life features with the case too, like a kickstand, a tuck-away finger loop, a pinky pillow, and a screen protector included in the box. And this gives you everything you need to protect your, nice, new, shiny S26 Ultra, which you can get 15% off by scanning the QR code on screen now, or using the link in the description down below. Now, the first thing I change, and this is one of many settings that will, of course, come down to your own personal preference, but the first one I always change is to change the navigation from buttons to gestures. Now, you do this under Display, Navigation Bar, and as just someone who's come from an iPhone, this just makes switching between devices really seamless. But again, if you like the buttons, then keep the buttons. And by the way, if you are coming from an iPhone, then I have a full guide on moving everything from iPhone to Android, and really Samsung specifically, which I will link down below this video. Now, whilst we're in here, another one to check is the screen resolution. And by default, it's not actually set to the highest quality setting. And because the display is very beautiful, it is nice to make the most of it. But if you do notice that impacting your battery life, then this is one you could leave as it is and probably won't even notice the difference. Now, still in the display settings, I would also enable the touch sensitivity toggle switch here. Now, if you are installing a screen protector, then you'll definitely want to enable this one before re-enrolling your fingerprints. Otherwise, it just doesn't work that well at all. And next, go to About Phone, then Software Information, and tap the build number until you get a message on screen to say you've unlocked the developer settings. Now, this is one that is really well known by now, but if you're new to Samsung or Android, then possibly not. But now you have an option called Developer Options available to you. And from here, you can scroll right the way down, just below halfway into the drawing section. And there are 3 things that are worth changing here. You've got Window Animation Scale, Transition Animation Scale, and Animator Duration Scale. And just by changing these from 1x to 0.5x, it makes your phone really snappy and really responsive. You can also turn animations completely off if you really wanted, the snappiest setting there is. And honestly, this setting alone is what makes an iPhone feel really slow when you go back to it, because you have to wait for their admittedly pretty, but very slow animations to play out each time. So yeah, this is a must change for me on every Android phone I use. Now, next up, and really before doing anything else, head into the settings menu, software update, and tap download and install, just to make sure your phone is on the very latest software. And then once this is done, also head into 2 other places and do the same. Firstly, the Google Play Store. You can tap your profile picture, manage apps and device, then check if any updates are available here, and if they are, tap update all to update everything in here. Then secondly, open up the app called Store. Now, this is the Samsung Store, and then tap menu and then updates. And again, just install anything that has an update in here. Now, whilst those are installing, because this could take a while depending on how many apps you have to install or how many updates to install, one of the most annoying things about setting up a new phone is having to sign back into all of your apps. Like, I swear that step alone can take hours. So one of the first things I do is manually download and install 1Password. It's just my chosen password manager. I've been using it for as long as I can remember, So now when I sign back into all of my apps, I don't need to remember to look anything up or write passwords down or anything along those lines. Now with that done, a few more basics before we really start digging into the rest of the menu system. I like changing the home screen layout, and you can do this by tapping and holding on the home screen, settings, and then change the home screen grid from 4x6 to 5x6. Now, this next step might be a bit of a contentious one, but I also changed the home screen layout from home and app screens to home screen only. Now, why do I do this? Well, because now if you scroll down on the home screen settings, there is an option called Search from Home, which isn't there if you have your phone set to Home and Apps. So now I can just swipe up and search for any app instead of having a bunch of app icons and having to remember where they are and scrolling around trying to find them. I guess, again, I've just been drilled into me by using a Mac for so long. You just use Spotlight to search for whatever app you want to use, and it just feels so much faster and just more organized to do it that way than having icons everywhere. But if you don't like it that way, again, just switch it back to home and apps. Okay, the next step for me is to add any other accounts onto my phone. Since when going through setup, I only signed into one of those accounts. And I actually have quite a few. I've got work accounts, personal accounts, accounts I share with others. So again, I head into the Play Store, tap the small down arrow here, and then add another account. And then I sign into all those other accounts that I want to have on this phone. And once that's done, we're going to kick off installing all of our missing apps. And whilst they are installing, we're going to go through the rest of the settings. So to do this, still in the Play Store, tap the profile picture, then manage apps and device, then go to manage, and then at the top, tap this device. And then you can either tap not installed to see a list of the apps that you have previously downloaded but aren't installed on this phone, or you can tap any other phones that you might already own that will show in the list here. And now you can just run down this list and check off any app that you want to install on this phone as well. So just tick them all, then tap the one download button to do them all in bulk. And then after you've done this, I also like going into my Google Photos app just to connect the right account and make sure your photos are actually all being backed up to the Google accounts, because they're not by default until you do this. Again, tap your profile picture, back up, and then make sure it is being backed up here. Then we can do a quick run through the next settings to change. Now first, Galaxy AI. Now, if you are setting up a non-Galaxy phone that doesn't have these settings, then you can just jump to this timestamp down below to skip this part. But in here, it actually looks like this is a list of all the AI things that your phone can do. But at least for me, when I checked through each of these, many of them were actually switched off by default. So it's worth checking this for you and running through the list. So you have Call Assist, gives you call screening and live translate. So just go into each of these, set your language, choose your voice, and you can also decide whether you want to hear non-translated voices. So under Other Translation and Person's Language, go into here and download or update any languages that you know you'll want to use if you have any languages that you know that you'll need. Note Assist, needed enabling if you want to summarize notes and voice recordings, as well as using AI to format them. Under Now Nudge, tap on Recall information you need, then Manage Personal Data. And here you can enter anything you'd like your phone to know about you for things like filling in forms and other Galaxy AI features, such as this new Now Nudge feature, which detects information on your screen to recommend other relevant data like calendar, messages, photos, and so on. Under Writing Assistant, scroll down to Suggested Replies and switch this on. Under Transcript Assist, enable both the auto-transcribe voice settings here. Under Now Brief, you want to enable or disable what you want. Also enable Expand Now Brief without unlocking. And then here, tap on Content to Include. And again, enable or disable what you want to see in the Now Brief. When traveling, I found that if I had travel included, then all it would do is display travel, which was kind of annoying because I know I'm traveling. So I've just disabled that. And I've also disabled YouTube because I just really don't understand why YouTube should be in my Now Brief. Under Notification Highlights, just go into Prioritize Notifications and Summarize Notifications. They are on by default, but again, depending on your own personal preference here, you may want to disable them, so here is where you do that. And then also enable Health Assist. Under Modes and Routines, feel free to go through all of these. These are actually really powerful when you get them set up properly. I'm just going to go through the sleep mode. So tap into sleep and you can use the easy setup here. But here you can set your usual sleep and wake times. You can also set up other options such as enabling Do Not Disturb. You can turn off the always on display. You can turn off your TV or even devices around the home. You can switch on or off Samsung air conditioners and basically just interact with any SmartThings device around your home. Now, word of warning, just be careful with these things. I've been traveling recently, and when I'm in a different time zone and going to sleep, it's been doing weird things with devices in my home during the day. So just, yeah, check how you have things set up. And maybe I haven't figured it out yet, but I'm assuming it's using my phone's time zone to then control devices back at home, which is in a totally different time zone. Anyway, quality of life setting now. Under sounds and vibration, obviously you can set your ringtones and your notification sounds, but also head into system sound and disable the charging sounds. Now, I also disable the Samsung keyboard here just to avoid the annoying clicks when typing messages. But the charging sound is so that when I get into bed late at night, my wife's already asleep, it doesn't then wake her up by making that, boom, like the charging sound. Obviously, that means if your phone is sat on the side and not charging properly, then you won't hear it. But at least you know the option is there. Again, change it if you wish. So under sound quality and effects, I usually enable Dolby Atmos for some reason, for whatever that's worth on a phone. And then under adapt sound, because I'm just getting old. And then you can enable this to your preference. I don't know if it actually makes a difference to me, but again, nothing really sounds bad to me on here. So yeah, is what it is. Okay, app notifications. In here, disable any notifications that you don't care about, because this is where just all the noise will come from. And then go into notification pop-up style and either set this to brief or detailed, which will then give you additional options like quick replies, dismiss, or snooze as those notifications come through. And then if you wish, you can customize the edge lighting style, which can look pretty awesome. And you can now set this on both of those options this year rather than just the first option. I also enable showing the snooze button here so you can snooze notifications. And then this one, which I have no idea why it's not enabled by default. You want to enable manage notification categories for each app. Now, because with this enabled, you can now go back into app notifications and tap into an app and see this new item for notification categories, which we're now, instead of just turning notifications on or off for the entire app, you can selectively choose which type of notifications you want to see from each app, which is one of the most incredible things that you can get on an Android phone. Now, a few more left. Under display and then dark mode settings, I set this to scheduled with sunset to sunrise just so it's easier on the eyes at night and then easier to read in the daytime. Again, each their own here. If you're dark mode only kind of person, just force its dark mode from here. Also, there is eye comfort shield. And now enable this if you wish. Again, I keep it disabled. I want to see accurate colors, especially when reviewing video footage late at night, since I'm a night owl anyway. And then we have one of the newest features, privacy display, on the S26 Ultra only this year. And this is a really cool feature, a world's first in any phone. Now, this feature will actually stop people from spying on your screen when looking side on from any side, top, bottom, left, or right. But it does go a little bit beyond that, because it can actually do this to specific areas of your screen as well. Now, again, by default, this isn't enabled whatsoever, and it doesn't even prompt you during the initial setup, which is a bit strange. So let's just go through that here. So under privacy display, you can toggle it on here, which will affect the full display at all times. And you can still disable this by swiping down from the top, then tapping on privacy display to toggle this on and off. And if you tap into the privacy display settings here, you can then again, toggle it on or off here. But scroll down a bit further and you can turn this on for specific apps. So apps you might want to include in here are things like banking, messaging apps, photos, your password manager. I would definitely put all of those apps in here for sure. And then underneath, you can enable for any system prompts for things like pins or patterns or passwords. Now, it doesn't protect it when filling in usernames and passwords on web forms, if you're having to manually type them in. So you may want to add your web browser into that apps list as well if you want to protect that too. But again, if you want to use this feature, it's well worth spending just a little bit of time running through these settings here and tweaking them to your liking. And then under screen timeout, there is a toggle to keep the screen on whilst looking at it. Under lock screen and always on display, enable the always on display, and then you can go into this and set it up how you like. There's also third-party apps as well, like Good Lock, which can customize this even further for you. So it's worth downloading that and checking that one out. And then there is also an option here called Extend Unlock, which, if it's safe to do so, can keep your phone unlocked when it's in a safe place like a home or work location. It can also keep your phone unlocked if it's connected to a known device like maybe a Galaxy Watch or Galaxy Ring. And then there is also on-body detection, which keeps it unlocked whilst you're walking. You pop it back in your pocket again and take it out again and so forth. I have the roaming clock enabled, especially when traveling, because then I get both the time zone I'm in and my home time zone, which is always useful when, calling family and friends and messaging and things. And then under accounts and backup, make sure you back up your data because, again, weirdly, this just isn't on by default. Speaking of which, if you head to security and privacy, then go into more security settings, then enhanced data protection. Again, I'm just not sure why this is hidden away in here and not shown under backup. But if you enable both of these options, it will then encrypt your backups and all your sync data, which again, highly recommended. No idea why it's not on by default. Next up, under advanced features, tap on S Pen, and when S Pen is removed, create a note. Now, I'm not one who uses the S Pen that much, if really at all, but when I do, it's because the kids want to draw something. So for me, that's a setting that's still worth changing. Anyway, then under motion and gestures, I have lift to wake enabled. Under screenshots, I have delete after sharing and also hide the status and navigation bars. And then the last few now, under device care, tap on performance profile. And I actually switched this over to light because with all of the previous generation, like S series phones, this made no noticeable difference to the actual performance of the phone, but did make a noticeable difference to the battery life of the phone. But again, this is one of the ones where feel free to play around with this one yourself to see what works for you. If you notice the performance change or if you notice the battery improvements, then change it as you wish. Heading back now and then into apps, then default apps and opening links. And you can disable opening links in the apps. I just always find it really annoying when it does that. And then you have to tap on like more buttons to then open in the actual browser. General management now, then date and time, set time zone based on location. Again, not sure why it's not set like that by default, but here we are. And with all of those settings, one of the most confusing ones as to why it's not enabled by default is this one. Go into security and privacy, lost device protection, and find my mobile. Now you want to switch all three of these things on first. Then you want to head back one level and then go into theft protection. And again, run through these options here to ensure they are set up the way that you want them. Likewise, if you have a Samsung Watch or a Samsung Ring, then head into the wearable app and you'll be prompted to find it with Samsung Find. So make sure you do that also. And that is everything. Hopefully there was something of use and value to you in this video. Please do like, subscribe down below, and stay tuned for our next video on the best accessories for the S26 Ultra. Thank you.